circuit is dry, the tarmac is good and warm, ideal conditions for the non-treaded slick tyres that they have on their bikes. And Kenny Roberts, the man who won this race in 1978 in extremely contentious circumstances when it was very wet indeed, and who won last year, and who is leading the championship with, as you can see, 3 wins in Italy, Spain and France, a 3rd in Belgium, a 2nd in Finland, and that gives him 67 points. And he is 16 points ahead of the brilliant young American Randy Mamola. Now there, number 2 in the foreground, the fiery Italian Marco Lucinelli, who tried to duff up a marshal with his crash helmet yesterday when he fell off. Conrod broke at Copse Corner, and he was a bit wound up. Marshall was trying to stop him going anywhere, and Lucinelli was determined to go, and in the end he won. So Marco Lucinelli on his left, and on your right, Kenny Roberts. Now, number 23, tremendously interesting, the young Italian Graziano Rossi, 24 years old, the man who rode for Morbidelli in the 250 class last year and won 3 races in the 250 class. He's in 5th position in the World Championship, ex-school teacher, an extremely bright man and a delightful man to talk to. Alongside Graziano Rossi is Randy Mamola, the young American, number 10. There he is, only 20 years old, comes from a sporting family and has brought his parents over from America to see this race, and it's the first time that they have left their native shores. And in the background, we should be able to see Barry Sheene. Yes, there he is, number 7, Barry Sheene on the Yamaha. And there's Barry, who has just had the little finger of his left hand amputated after an accident earlier on this year when his hand was crushed underneath the bike. It doesn't seem to have affected his performance. There we are. They're the men who made last year's race. In the foreground, Kenny Roberts. In the background, Barry Sheene. Yamaha number 1, Yamaha number 7. The famous number 7 of Barry Sheene himself, 10th fastest in practice. Now, between Mamola and Sheene, there are Uncini, the Italian, Graham Crosby, that is 1 minute to go. Graham Crosby, the very determined New Zealand rider who won this year's Senior TT and the Suzuka race in Japan. Then Johnny Cecotto, the 1978 750 world champion. Will Hartog, the Dutchman, that's the front rank. Then Michel Rougerie, the Frenchman, Barry Sheene, Jack Middelberg, the Dutchman, Michel Frucci, the Swiss rider, Philippe Coulon, and completing the second row, Patrick Pons, the reigning 750 world champion, and the British rider, John Newbold. So, all set, the red lights are on, they will shortly flick to green, and then the 28 lap, 1980 British Motorcycle Grand Prix will be on. The seconds are ticking away, the official is red, and green! They go. And it looks like Mamola. It's Mamola and Crosby and Hartog going into Copse Corner first. Randy Mamola leads. No, Will Hartog takes the lead. Look for the white levers of Will Hartog. It's Hartog and Mamola. And then the rest of the 40 riders, each of whose engines, and they're all 2-strokes with the one exception of Katayama's Honda, producing some 110 horsepower each, and it's Mamola, the American, leading Will Hartog as the rest of them stream through behind him. From Maggots into Beckett's, from Beckett's round Chapel, then down the Hanger Straight, and this is the fastest part of the course, 6th gear, 160 miles an hour, and in 3rd position it's Marco Lucinelli. So, Mamola leads Suzuki, Hartog 2nd, Suzuki, Lucinelli 3rd, Suzuki, and they come now out of Stowe, down to Club Corner, the little short straight. You can see from the flags waving in the background that there's a good stiff breeze, and Mamola's really winding it on. Mamola, Hartog, Lucinelli, 3 Suzukis. Now they're up to Abbey Curve. And Abbey Curve, they come up into 6th gear, some 10,300 RPM, 150 miles an hour, under the bridge and into Woodcote. It's Randy Mamola, then Hartog, then Lucanelli, then Kenny Roberts in 4th position, then Rossi, then Graham Crosby in 6th place, and Mamola has got, as you see, Lucanelli now right in his wheel tracks. There's the Italian, there's Roberts in 4th position, so the leading Yamaha, ridden by the world champion, who has to finish ahead of Mamola to be world champion at the end of this race, is in 4th position. Randy Mamola, number 10. Lucanelli, Hartog. And those 6, that's Barry Sheene behind these 6 riders. And behind Hartog, it's Roberts. Behind Roberts, it's Graziano Rossi. And there is Barry Sheene in 7th position. There's the Yamaha of Sheene. Now, can he close up? He needs to. This is the end of the 2nd lap, 28 laps altogether, and that's a distance of 82 miles, as near as makes the difference. Barry Sheene, number 7. And I'll give you the gap between Sheene in 7th place and the 6th place man at the end of this lap, with Mamola, number 10, Lucanelli behind him as they come up to Woodcote, and those two are breaking away, and Roberts is up into 3rd position. Look for Kenny Roberts in 3rd position, Hartog 4th, Rossi 5th, Graham Crosby is in 6th position, Barry Sheene is in 7th position, and the gap between the 6th and 7th man, that's Barry Sheene, is 4.12 seconds.
Lucanelli's gone into the lead there, Murray.
Lucanelli leads. What's the tactics likely to be, Mike?
Well, I don't think there are any at the moment, Murray. I think they're just sorting themselves out, and everybody's waiting, playing a waiting game to see who's going to do what. But right now, they're still getting their tyres properly working temperature, I think.
Marco Lucanelli from La Spezia in Italy, 5 years experience, 4th in the World Championship in 1976, Italian champion, 9th in the 78 500cc World Championship, and a man with ambitions to race motorcars. But he's certainly racing motorcycles at the moment. It's Mamola back in the lead, then Lucanelli, and just look at the way they crank over, and Kenny Roberts is 3rd, the world champion 3rd. The gap between Roberts in 2nd place and Lucanelli is just under a second. Less than that now, as they come up to Abbey Curve. Very, very quick indeed. That's a 5th gear, 135 mile an hour bend, and now they're accelerating. This is the end of lap 3. Mamola, Lucanelli number 2, over the line, and Kenny Roberts is 0.7 seconds behind Marco Lucanelli. Roberts is gaining. Watch number 1, Kenny Roberts. He's on the 1979-80 Yamaha. World champion in 78, world champion in 79, is said by many to be the greatest road all-rounder of all time, and Lucanelli goes through again. Lucanelli goes through on the right-hander at Beckett's on lap 4 out of 28, and once again Mamola regains the lead. Terrific stuff at the front, and Kenny Roberts is remorselessly clawing back. Do you reckon Kenny is watching points and hanging back, or is he going to try and get through?
Well, he's already into 2nd place now, and he's right behind Mamola, so I think we'll be seeing him making a move for the front position any time now, and it's already developing into a very exciting race.
This is it, the 2 Americans at the front, great friends, and Randy Mamola has been brought on by Kenny Roberts, and Lucanelli back into 2nd position. You wouldn't think that this was a comparatively long-distance Grand Prix. It's like a real short-circuit race the way they're going at the moment. Mamola, Lucanelli and Roberts, that's the order at the moment, but Roberts has been up into 2nd position, and Kenny Roberts loves Silverstone, and to prove it, he's back into 2nd position as they go into Woodcote at the end of lap 5. And I can't identify that rider for you, but once again, as ever, the marshals are behaving very sensibly, surrounding him with short straw brails in case there's another rider going off. There go the leaders, and it's Mamola, it's Roberts 2nd, it's Lucanelli 3rd, and it may be Graham Crosby who is off. I'm guessing because I can see Rossi, number 23, in fourth place as Roberts comes up to take the lead. Roberts is going to take Mamola, and he's done so on lap 5. Kenny Roberts, who must keep ahead of Mamola to win the World Championship this year, and Mamola's fighting back. 110 horsepower from each of these engines, and Roberts takes it very wide. Mamola keeps on the inside, and Lucanelli is still with them. Then Rossi, and look at Hartog in the white leathers in 5th position. Hartog, the Dutchman, in 5th position, is closing up on Rossi. There is Rossi, there is Hartog in 5th place, and Barry Sheene is now in 7th position. It was Michel Rougerie who came off. 6 laps completed. Michel Rougerie, the Frenchman, out. Graham Crosby is in 6th position. There are the leaders. Barry Sheene is 7th. Behind Barry Sheene in 8th position is Franco Uncini. Marco Lucanelli reckoned he won the 1978 British Grand Prix in the appallingly wet conditions. That's number 2, who is in 3rd position at the moment, and he has never forgotten it. He was up on the rostrum complaining that he had won, and if he thought there had been a mistake in the lap scoring, he had not won, and he's determined to win this one. Barry Sheene, by the way, has gone down to 8th position because Franco Uncini has followed him in. There are the first 5. It's Mamola, Roberts, Lucanelli, Rossi, Will Hartog, and there is Graham Crosby on the Suzuki. And Crosby is starting to close up now in 6th position. This New Zealander who created a sensation on the sit-up and bing Formula One Kawasaki last year into the works team for Suzuki in 1980. And there he is. That's Crosby in the red leathers. And that's the first 6, and we are on lap 7 with 21 to go. Into Woodcote. This is 130 miles an hour in 4th gear. Roberts and Lucanelli. The gap between Lucanelli, who is 3rd, and Graziano Rossi, who is 4th, is some 3 seconds. There's Rossi, there's Hartog. Behind Hartog, there is Hartog going through. There is Graham Crosby. And then there will be Uncini, number 5, and Barry Sheene. There's Bazza, there's Barry Sheene on the 4-cylinder Yamaha. Uncini, that's 7, Barry Sheene. And then behind Barry Sheene, who is in 8th position, is Jack Middelberg, the Dutchman. What a terrific pace. Downhanger straight this is. 6th gear, fastest part of the course, 11,000 RPM, 160 miles an hour. And Mamola and Crosby have pulled out a little bit of a gap from Marco Lucanelli on this lap. Lucanelli, the Italian, still 3rd.
You can see they're really trying hard there, Murray. Kenny was right off the road onto the bit of concrete on the edge of the track, so that just goes to show how hard he's trying. And as you say, they are pulling away fractionally from Lucanelli.
And Kenny Roberts, like all of them, wants to win this one. He likes the Silverstone track very much. The last Grand Prix was at Finland, which is a very tight, Nadgery circuit on public roads. Roberts didn't like it at all, and when he got here, he said it was a real breath of fresh air to get on a circuit where you could really... And look at the back wheel pattering as he goes round Woodcote, behind Mamola leading. Lucanelli 3rd still, Rossi 4th, Hartog 5th, Graham Crosby in 6th position as we look at the world champion, number 1, Roberts, round Cox.
Kenny Roberts is definitely faster going into corners, Murray, but Mamola seems to be able to get the power on a little bit earlier and comes out of it a little bit quicker than Kenny does. But it's swings and roundabouts, so they're staying together beautifully there. And Lucanelli is hanging on for grim death there.
And we looked for a moment at the psychedelically painted blue helmet of Graziano Rossi in 4th position, number 23. There he is in the background, coming up to the right-hander at Stowe Corner. There's the bearded Graziano Rossi. You can see his long hair peeping out from under his helmet, but don't let that fool you, he's very tough indeed. Third in Italy, fourth in France, second in Holland, and Rossi is in fifth position in the World Championship. Behind Lucinelli, Uncini, Mamola and Kenny Roberts, and Franco Uncini, number 5, is in 7th position at the moment. And as the leaders come towards us, by the way, with Mamola still leading Roberts, and Roberts again going through, I wonder if, Mike, Roberts is testing things for the last lap and a sprint through at Woodcote, because I noticed he's taken Mamola the last 2 laps there.
Well, I think it would be a bit foolish trying to test it out right so early in the race, because Mamola will know what he's trying to do.
And look at that! Uncini through into second place, first, second and third together, but Mamola had got the faster line on the inside and he held it, but Lucinelli, not Uncini, Lucinelli is right with them now, first, second and third together, and now Roberts definitely leading. Look at the knee, almost scraping the ground, very heavily reinforced padding on the knees of their one-piece leather suits, because the riders actually scrape the knees of their leathers on the tarmac as they go round the corners. And out of the slipstream of Kenny Roberts comes Mamola to go through and take the lead at Stowe Corner, with Lucinelli holding a watching brief still in third position, and Graziano Rossi not so far behind them in fourth position. And Mamola flings his left hand out for some reason.
I would imagine that would be Mamola tearing off one of his rip-off visors, because perhaps the flies have got on it and he wasn't being able to see too clearly. So they've got about 3 of those rip-off visors, and they tear them off one by one as their vision gets blurred.
There are thousands and thousands of people here. They were pouring into the circuit all through the night. Then the gates were closed. They were out again first thing this morning, and they're seeing the race of a lifetime as Mamola crosses the line and Lucinelli is up into second place, and look at the gap. Now that must have been a record lap. I've got the stopwatch running this lap on Randy Mamola to compare his time with that of Barry Sheene, who at the beginning of this race held, and did you see Lucinelli there? He got a real wobble on, and Barry Sheene's lap record, 1 minute 29.98 seconds, 117.1 miles an hour. Let's see how Randy Mamola, number 10, goes on this lap.
Mamola has definitely pulled out a little bit of an advantage there, Murray. I think perhaps Lucinelli is slowing Roberts down a little bit, if you can call this slowing down. Kenny Roberts definitely hasn't got the fastest bike in the race there. Lucinelli's bike was a little bit quicker. Now he's going up there. They touched
that. Did you see? Roberts had to lift halfway through the corner when Lucinelli dived underneath him there. And Roberts is now back into third position. They're round the right-hander and club. They're up to Abbey. Look at this again. Watch Lucinelli go through on the inside and watch Roberts lift as he does so. Lucinelli diving through.
It looked to me, actually, Murray, as if they actually touched there in that corner.
Barry Sheene is coming into the pits to retire, or certainly to have something done to his machine. There he is, Barry Sheene. It looks as though his race is run. And although the race has set into a pattern now, they've seen a real epic in the opening stages of the 1980 British Grand Prix, and the leader, Fact and Roberts too, is on his last lap, and it's going to be a truly famous victory. Ahead of number 1 there, Kenny Roberts, is number 10, Randy Mamola. Roberts round the right-hander at Copse, and Mamola some 8 seconds ahead of him now as he goes round the right-hander at Beckett's, up to Chapel, the left-hander, then down to the long hanger straight, and look at all the men that he has lapped. And 20-year-old Randy Mamola, a man very much destined for stardom, because if he can do this in this Marlborough British Grand Prix with such consummate and effortless ease as he appears to have done, with so little World Championship experience behind him, and look at that! Incredible! Randy Mamola spots the camera and gives it the number 1 sign. I am going to win. Fantastic. And he's waving, he really is taking it at his ease now, waving to the crowd, doing a Steve Ovett on 2 wheels as he goes round. He's looking over his shoulder. He sees, I see no Kenny Roberts. And how can he? Because Roberts is 8 seconds behind him. The checkered flag is now out. And the British Grand Prix has been won by Randy Mamola in brilliant style. A superb ride. One of the best rides I have ever seen in Grand Prix racing. Kenny Roberts touring across the line, going very, very much slower. In second position, now we wait for Marco Lucinelli, and that's his wheelie. I knew he'd do it. Randy Mamola doing his celebration wheelie. He's famous for this. Gives it an excessive throttle, gets the front wheel right off the ground, and he will, inside that helmet of his, I suspect not be his usual impassive self. And that's Bert van Dulmen that he shook hands with, the Dutchman, the Dutch rider who won a Grand Prix last year, and up it goes again. 4 horsepower. That's sheer youthful exuberance, and it's totally justified. There's Roberts.
There he goes.
Now Roberts is catching up to him. What do you think, Mike?
Well, I think he's absolutely superb. I've seen him doing this at Donington, and and Roberts is doing it as well.
Yeah,
what tremendous showman. Kenny, although he must be a bitterly disappointed man, because I'm sure he would like to have sewn up the championship today. The great sport that he is, still putting on a crowd for the show. What a wonderful couple of showmen these 2 guys are.
They really love their motorcycle sport, these 2, and they really are the very greatest of friends. And there, the results. Mamola, the winner. Kenny Roberts on the Yamaha with Mamola on a Suzuki. Then Marco Lucinelli and a formation wheelies. Great stuff. And one of the best British Grand Prix, one of the best Grand Prix ever, I think. So victory for Mamola ahead of Kenny Roberts, Marco Lucinelli 3rd, in 4th place Rossi, in 5th place Cecotto, and in 6th place Franco Uncini, and it's going right to the German Grand Prix at the Nürburgring to decide the World Championship. Randy, you've won British hearts all around the course. Have you ever had a reception like the one you've had here today?
No, it was a wonderful reception for me. I had doubts about winning the race because of a few things that were going through my mind. That when I got out there, I tried to put all that out of my mind, and things worked out for the best.
Randy, you led from the start, and although you were chopping and changing with Kenny a lot, you were ahead most of the time. How difficult was it for you?
Well, when you're out in the lead and there's a rider putting pressure on behind you, it's sort of hard. I don't have that much experience running with the front runners, and so it definitely was a lot of pressure behind me. There was a lot of things going through my mind, where Kenny was going to try to get by me or Lucinelli was going to try to get by me. So when I let him through, I tried to see right where I can get them back, because I knew it was going to the race was going to have to last that way all the way through.
Well, the first practice session went okay, and then towards the end of it, the engine started to lose power, and we couldn't understand it. We thought it was just too rich. And over the next 3 practice sessions, it got worse and worse. And then in the final one, the ignition broke. So we thought, okay, it must be in the ignition. We changed everything possible to change. Then in the race, the first lap and a half, it was going okay, like a rocket. Then it got slower and slower and slower, and in the end, it was, you know, I couldn't even pull 5th gear. I could only just pull 5th gear down the back straight.
Barry, you've been on top of the world for several years, world champion twice, and you made your own decision to become a private owner. Do you regret it at all?
I've had a terrible year without any doubt. I don't regret it because, you know, I'm going to conquer it. That's all I can say, because I'm going to work and work and work. I don't care what it costs. I don't care what I have to do, but I'm going to get back on top again, you know.
Well, this is the big one coming up, the 500cc event of the 1981 British Grand Prix, with at least 6 riders who could win out of the 40 starters. There are the 40 starters down on the grid, and here is the man who is in pole position, New Zealander Graham Crosby, who has been on pole position before, but never, I think, in an event that he will regard as important as this. But next to him is the man that the thousands and thousands of people here today have primarily come to see, double ex-world champion Barry Sheene, who has yet to win a Grand Prix this year. There you see the grid, reading left-hand column from bottom to the top. Thus, Crosby, who is on the left of the grid when he lines up his fastest. Sheene second, Jack Middelburg, the Dutch rider, third fastest, Kenny Roberts fourth fastest, but with the same time as Middelburg. Fifth fastest, Randy Mamola. Sixth is Marco Lucinelli. Seventh fastest, the Swiss rider, Michel Frucci. And eighth fastest, completing the front row, Bernard Faux. The man with the Union Jack, who is going to start the race, is standing in front of the riders. He's starting to walk slowly back across the circuit now, up into the starters rostrum. All the riders are off their machines, most of them on the left-hand side to push. They're straining now, they've got the front brake on, they're leaning on the handlebars to get the weight pushing forward. The flag goes and away. Now, Crosby has got a superb start. Graham Crosby in pole position, and Freddie Spencer has got the Honda firing well, and it's Kenny Roberts second, and Barry Sheene third, and Marco Lucinelli in fourth position. Number 4 is Crosby. Graham Crosby, the New Zealand rider on the Works Suzuki, leads Kenny Roberts, the world champion, as they go round the left-hander at Maggots. Now up into 6th gear, down towards Beckett's, where they go right down through the gearbox into second. Over 8,000 RPM, round Beckett's, and it is Crosby leading Roberts, leading Sheene in third position. And in fourth position, it's Marco Lucinelli, and you see them back to the right and the left, and now they go down the Hanger Straight with Crosby, Roberts, Sheene, Lucinelli, Mamola, and then Court Ballington on the Kawasaki. From Stowe up to Club Corner. From Club up to Abbey. It's 5th gear and up to 135 miles an hour here. Now into top gear, nearly 150 miles an hour. Then they have to anchor up after Abbey for Woodcote, the tremendously fast right-hander. No chicane for the motorcycles, unlike the car Grand Prix. And it is Graham Crosby leading at the end of lap 1 with 27 laps to go. Kenny Roberts, Sheene is challenging Roberts. Then it's Lucinelli, and behind Lucinelli, Mamola. And behind Mamola is Cork Ballington, and Lucinelli is starting to close on the 3 in front of him. Barry Sheene has had trouble with his tyres in a lot of races this year. There he is, the world champion of 1976 and 1977. With that peculiar riding stance of his caused by injuries that he had in Daytona many years ago. And it's still Crosby. Sheene in third position. The world champion, Kenny Roberts, in second place. Marco Lucinelli, the world championship leader, in fourth place. In the red helmet in the background is Randy Mamola. And Roberts leads. Kenny Roberts, then, who had trouble with his tyres, and more about this, takes the lead.
We notice that Kenny used every advantage from the slipstream there and was able to pull out and pass Graham Crosby just as entering the breaking point. This shows.
So there you go, it's Kenny Roberts. Now, is this tremendously gritty New Zealander, Graham Crosby, who most of us had never heard of a couple of years ago, going to be able to challenge the reigning world champion? Kenny Roberts said to me before, and he is, Roberts takes the lead again. Roberts goes into the lead at Woodcote. So Crosby leads, then Roberts, then Sheene, behind Sheene, Marco Lucinelli, all 4 together with Randy Mamola 5th.
these machines seem so evenly matched on power that this seems the name of the game. This slipstreaming and this taking the sort of corner, entering Woodcote.
Keith Ewan, the man who did so well in the 350 race at the beginning of the afternoon, finishing in second place, is out of the 500 class already on his Suzuki. Hard luck, but Graham Crosby on his Suzuki is still very much in the running. Leading on lap 3, number 4, Graham Crosby. Roberts next, Sheen third, number 2, Marco Lucinelli fourth, number 3, Randy Mamola is in 5th position. And off goes Graham Crosby, and past him goes Lucinelli, and that looks like Barry Sheen off as well. But was it? That's Crosby. He's getting down behind the barrel, behind the hay bale, and immediately goes to the assistance of his fellow competitor, and I think Marco Lucinelli has got through. The yellow flag's waving to warn the competitors behind them that somebody has come off.
No, I think Lucinelli went as well, Mo.
Here we go. Here's a replay. Let's have a look at it. Graham Crosby.
Here we have.
Watch Graham Crosby's rear wheel. He's still got control of the bike. He heels it right over. And away it goes. Completely lost adhesion, a great puff of rubber smoke. Down goes Crosby. He looks as though he's got his leg mostly clear. Through goes Roberts. So Roberts got through there anyway. And there's another machine. That's Barry Sheen coming into the picture, all doubled up. And past him, that's Marco Lucinelli. So Lucinelli keeps rolling. Graham Crosby is kicking the machine away from him. Barry Sheen is off. The race continues, and it is now into lap 4. And on lap 4, the race order after this contretemps on the earlier lap, in the lead now is Randy Mamola, and in second position is Kenny Roberts, and in third place Cork Ballington. And that's Marco Lucinelli, who is way down now, of course, because a lot of riders went past him. And you can see marshals in the background waving them down because they're coming up to the danger point. And look at Cork Ballington. Cork Ballington in the green leathers is coming up extremely well. In fact, Ballington is challenging now. Ballington is right up with the leaders. So it's Kenny Roberts leading as they come into Woodcote at the end of lap 4. Kenny Roberts leading, then it's Mamola. Cork Ballington is in third position, and Jack Middelberg, the Dutchman, is in fourth place. Well, Kenny Roberts going round the outside of Randy Mamola. I remind you that Lucinelli is out of the running. Barry Sheen is out. Graham Crosby is out. Drama right at the beginning of the British Grand Prix, but now Kenny Roberts and Mamola and Cork Ballington and Jack Middelberg all virtually locked together and overlapping, and Freddie Spencer on the Honda is in 5th position. We'll be able to see the gap soon between these four. This is the battle for the lead, and this is lap 5 out of 28. And we've heard the news that Barry Sheen is up on his feet, and we believe that he is okay.
Well, that was terrible luck for Barry. I think what happened was that they were so dicing into the corner, leaving their braking to the very latest point, that Crosby had to sort of try and tighten the corner, and when he went to apply the power, it was just a little too much angle on the machine, and as you see, he just ploughed the back wheel away. What was so disappointing was, of course, taking out Barry and
Graham Crosby into Woodcote. 120 miles an hour. Change up into 5th gear. Up to nearly 140, 145 miles an hour here. Break down into 3rd for Cox Corner. Roberts, number 1. Mamola, number 3. Ballington, number 9.
we must also look out for number 11 there, which is just coming into the picture. This is Jack Middelberg, who is in fact a private owner and has been doing a wonderful job qualifying, as you know, 3rd on the grid here.
Jack Middelburg in 7th position in the World Championship. There he is in the background, number 11. And he's the multi-Dutch champion, many times being Dutch champion, 7th in the 500cc World Championship in 79 and 9th last year. And he sees ahead of him the battle for the lead, and the battle for the lead comes into the heat haze and out of it, and it's Mammela leading. Mammela has got ahead of his fellow countryman Kenny Roberts. Cork Ballington is down to 3rd position. Jack Middelburg on the left is closing up. Suzuki leads, Yamaha second. Yamaha leads because Roberts goes through. The Honda, ridden by Freddie Spencer, is in 6th position. In 5th position is the Frenchman Bernard Foe. And Randy Mammela still has time to take his hand off the handlebars and look round to see where Kenny Roberts is. And he must have got quite a shock because there was Roberts eyeballing him from just over his left shoulder.
I reckon this means that he's basically pacing himself and he's trying to slow the race, if anything, rather than go along and sort of go Mad Hatters to do the fastest lap. At this stage, I think they're very much considering the performance of the tyres, the question that it's a very hot day and that they need to finish.
Roberts across the line, Mammela, Cork Ballington, and it's now breaking up slightly into 2 groups, but not for very long, I think, because Ballington closes right up on Mammela, and Lucinelli is now only 7.5 seconds ahead of the leaders. And I remind you, 7.5 seconds in time, but nearly a full lap in distance. Into the Hangar Straight on lap 10 out of 28. First, second, third, fourth together. On the left, Roberts. And Cork Ballington is now up into 2nd position.
And Roberts is in the lead.
Middelburg is right up alongside Mammela and momentarily had 3rd position.
Of course, Middelburg could be the fly in the ointment here because he is the one who has nothing to lose but everything to gain, perhaps even a works ride next year.
Kenny Roberts, number 1 because he is world champion, not just in 1980, but in 1979 and 1978 as well. Acknowledging that he has little chance of winning the World Championship, at least he acknowledged before the race that that was in a situation where he, like me, could not envisage Marco Lucinelli not finishing in the points, and Lucinelli is showing no sign of that at the moment. And here they come down to Copse on lap 13.
And that lap was about a second a lap faster, so now perhaps Mammela is trying to make a break.
Mammela said before this race began he was going to see if anybody tried to make the pace, and if they didn't, he would. He said he was going to sit and watch points, and it looks as though he may be doing just that. Randy Mammela won this race, the British Grand Prix, last year. This incredible young man, who is still only 21, who has nevertheless been racing for 9 years out of his 21. And through goes Mammela, and right behind him go Roberts, Ballington, Middelburg as quickly as that. Mammela very much a child prodigy in racing. The son of enormously enthusiastic motorcycle racing parents. The American 250 champion as long ago as 1978. He came to Europe only in 1979. He swept all before him and then joined the Suzuki Works team in 1980. And he's very much a protege of the man who's racing against him, Kenny Roberts. This is lap 13, and it's a 28-lap race. Under the bridge, in the lead, Mammela. And it looks to me, John, as though Mammela is actually starting to pull out a bit and build up some superiority.
Well, again, this was another sort of half a second faster. This is another half a second faster, so I think that's the case. He's possibly going to have a few laps when he puts the pressure on and sees whether he can sort of get away. Then, if not, he'll start to slow the race again until a later stage. I think this is the sort of tactics he's going to adapt.
Well, let us wait and see as they go into Beckett's again and out of the saddle and shifting his weight onto the right to keep the machine up as much as he can and keep the maximum tyre rubber on the ground and therefore maximise his grip goes Randy Mammela, and he now sees Marco Lucinelli in his sights. Lucinelli is lapping in 1 minute 33.7. Mammela is lapping at 1 minute 33 exactly, and that is a speed of 113 19.3 miles an hour, about 4 miles an hour slower than Barry Sheen's lap record. So it does look as though indeed Muller is controlling the race from the front. Mamela leads, Roberts second, Ballington third, Middleburg fourth, Fauve fifth and Fontaine sixth. But how long is it going to stay like that? Roberts and Mamela. Court Ballington either can't or doesn't want to do anything about it, and nor can Middleburg.
I don't think he really can do anything about it. In practice, he was that much down on times, and at the present sort of stage of the race, these two are obviously tending to sort of feel each other out. It may be that with the temperature, the lap time is the sort of best sort of time they can do, and I'm sure that they can get away from Court in the later stages if they wish.
John, and there's look, incredible. There's Marco Lucinelli. He knows they've caught him. He gives a cheery wave. He's called Lucky, and he's known for being a great practical joker and full of fun. He wasn't full of fun when John Surtees and I tried to talk to him this morning. He was in such a state of nerves that he was haranguing everybody, but now he seems to have recovered, and he's let his rivals through without any problems at all. All four of them. Marco Lucinelli has been lapped, and he is right out of World Championship points, no doubt about that. It's going to be an enormously close thing for the World Championship when this race finishes, if Roberts or Mamela win the race. Middleburg in fourth position. They're in amongst the tail enders. They go straight past Alex George, the man from the Scotsman from the Isle of Man. They're closing up on Barry Woodland now. And round the corner they go, and it is Mamela, Roberts, and Middleburg is temporarily up into third place as 8 of them go round, and somebody's off. I don't know who it is. We'll find out, we'll let you know. Meantime, up at the front, the first 3 have now shaken back clear of Ballington for some reason or another. We'll watch very carefully as they go through Abbey and complete the lap for Court Ballington. Roberts comes up alongside Mamela, and he's going to take the wide line and the lead in the process. Roberts, Mamela, Middleburg is the order. Lucinelli goes through and has been lapped. Not a sign, and I'm looking right down the circuit as you watch these riders go to Cox, and Ballington is coming into the pits. Court Ballington is coming into the pits. There he is. A fine, determined ride. There's the Kawasaki.
That's a great shame, actually, because speaking to the mechanics during practice, they said they just hadn't had a single engine blow up for the past 4 Grand Prix. They just ran the engine for 1,000 miles and that was it, so great shame.
So Sheen out, who could have won. Crosby out, who could have won. Spencer out, who couldn't have won, I think, to be fair, but was riding extremely well and better on the Honda than it's ever gone before, as Mamela comes up alongside and again takes Kenny Roberts. Court Ballington out, who might conceivably have won. There he is with his mechanics, who include his brother. And there's no doubt about the fact that Ballington is out. And we are now on lap 19 in this 28-lap race with temporarily Mamela leading.
This could be...
Over the line again, and that is 19 laps completed. They are now on lap 20. No change. It's going to be right down to the last corner. It looks as though it is, because neither Mamela nor Roberts seem to show any sign of breaking clear. Middleburg could still, the way he is riding, and that's number 11, Jack Middleburg, the 29-year-old Dutchman. he could still conceivably do it. It's unlikely, it seems certain to be between Roberts and Mammela, but we'll see soon enough.
Well, he should, in fact, be somewhat down on power because he's got the last year's model Suzuki. But one never knows, and it may be the question of a temperature or something. The important thing to watch will be the performance up the straight, under the bridge, into Woodcote, because obviously the race could run to that being the last stage where it's settled.
Let's recap again on the World Championship situation. Marco Lucinelli still leads it, and he leads it by 16 points ahead of Randy Mammela, who at the moment is lead. If Mammela wins, he will get 15 points, and that will mean he's only 1 point behind Lucinelli as the World Championship Series goes on to the next race. Then Kenny Roberts would get 12 points if he finished second. Well, if there is no point in hypothesizing, we'll have to wait and see, but it's going to be very, very close for the championship. And Middelburg riding, I would think, better than he has ever ridden before, including his Dutch TT win, because as John has pointed out, he is on a slower bike than #1 world champion Kenny Roberts and #3 world championship contender Randy Mammela. And they are on lap 21. In 4th position at the present moment behind them is Bernard Foe, who has moved up. In 5th position it is Marc Fontaine. In 6th position it's Bert van Dulmen. In 7th position it is Stu Avant. And in 8th position it is Ikujira Takai, the Japanese rider. And the battle for the lead continues. Down Hanger Straight, Roberts, Mammela and Middelburg.
What is interesting there is that whereas Roberts can pull out of the slipstream of Mammela and pass him on braking, it doesn't appear that the same quite applies the reverse. It may be that the Yamaha has this a slight edge on top-end speed.
Are you going to stick in now to make a forecast for the win, John?
No, at the moment I think they're weighing each other up too well. I cannot believe that this is the true situation. I think that what they're doing is they're testing each other. They're seeing where they have a slight advantage, and that they will then choose a part in the race when they will try and make a break.
And the great news for British motorcycle enthusiasts is that Dave Potter is up into 7th place, the man who won the Superbike Championship, and Middelburg waves. The man Potter is up into 7th place, notwithstanding the fact that he is riding with a broken bone and in great pain in his left arm, and has a special tummy pad to take the braking stresses from the Yamaha here at Silverstone, and they are very considerable. The lap speeds are going down slightly, and Middelburg goes up. Middelburg moves up ahead of Mammela. Tremendous stuff at the front on lap 22. We're getting towards the closing stages of the race, and the pace is not diminishing at all. In 4th position still Bernard Foe. Let's not forget there's a lot of other riders. There is Foe, and right with him, number 16 in 5th position is Marc Fontaine. So there's just a closer battle for 4th position as there is for 1st, 2nd and 3rd, and it's these two Frenchmen who are battling, and behind them is Bert van Dulmen. So there are 2 Dutchmen in the first 6 places. Middelburg, who is 3rd, van Dulmen, who is 6th. And Middelburg is the 3rd of these 3. Roberts leads this time, Mammela 2nd this time. Middelburg is still 3rd, and they're coming up to close and lap yet another tail ender.
And this is the critical point. It's a point of how they will get out of Club Corner and take the acceleration under the bridge down here into Woodcote. Because remember that dice with Barry. Remember the dice which took place with Barry some years ago. That was the critical point. And it does look as if the Yamaha has just a slight edge on top-end speed. Mind you, the Suzukis were fitted with bigger bore carburetors and a different exhaust system to try and improve the top-end speed for this particular race.
1 minute 33.01, incredible consistency that lap time from Kenny Roberts, 113.3 to the nearest 100th of a second. And steaming out of the corner ahead of the 3 who are battling for the lead comes Christian Saron, number 32, the young Frenchman whose brother rides in the Honda Works endurance team, and he's going to be lapped boom, boom, boom by Mammala, Roberts and Middelburg, or is he?
What you've got to think about on the times also is that they're, to a certain extent, spoiling. They're tending to take corners and they're positioning themselves on the road so that the other cannot sort of take that very vital little piece of road.
Well, this might be Roberts' chance for a break. He is ahead of Saron. Now, no, it wasn't. There's plenty of room on a motorcycle to adjust your line and get through. Potter is in 7th place. Steve Parrish is in 9th place, and Chris Guy, who I think we maligned by accusing him of falling off yesterday when he did no such thing, is in 10th position and riding well. The man who won the 2-lap senior TT this year, Chris Guy, but when it was stopped, is now into 10th position, and there is the battle for lead, and it is now lap 24. Roberts, number 1, Mammala, number 3, Middelburg, number 11. So it is temporarily a Yamaha in the lead, a Suzuki in 2nd place, a Suzuki in 3rd place. The lap time exactly the same again, 1 minute 33.1. And we are looking at world champion Kenny Roberts.
It's a little early to say, but it seems as if Kenny is somewhat satisfied with those tyres he managed to smuggle out of customs yesterday.
I talked to Kenny just before the race began, and he seemed incredibly relaxed. He's a very low-key man, has a very, I understand, slow pulse, and he certainly controls his emotions magnificently, but he's riding with tremendous fire and determination now. After 23 laps, there's the order. It's a 28-lap race, and it confirms that then Roberts led Mammala and Middelburg with Faux, Fontaine and Van Dulman, the Dutchman, in 6th position. And Kenny Roberts has now got, for this race, a tremendous lead. It must be all of 3 machine lengths.
Well, this is one of the problems which I hope doesn't affect the race, i.e. that they don't come up on a bunch of people to lap just at the very crucial point of those last few laps. This could make all the difference. But as much as these two know each other very well, the Flying Oidner again could be Middelburg. If he happens to put himself just in the wrong point on that last lap, it could upset all their calculations.
Randy Mammala, who is in 2nd position, and again takes his hand off the clutch side of the handlebars and looks over his shoulder to see where Middelburg is. And he saw Middelburg as close to him as he saw Roberts when he looked back earlier on. Randy Mammala freely acknowledges that he learnt all his tricks and a lot of his skill from the man in front of him, Kenny Roberts, who took Mammala under his wing earlier on in his career and helped to sponsor him and helped teach him how to ride a motorcycle at speed, and how well he succeeded and how well Middelburg is riding.
Well, one of the things here is that it's like the old saying, two's a company, three's certainly not, because that could be the problem.
Well, three's a crowd in this situation, and Jack Middelburg seems to be very anxious to break clear of them. I don't think he's going to do it, I really don't, but I take my hat off to him for the way he's riding, and he's riding on lap 25. At the end of this lap, in what has seemed to me the shortest British Grand Prix on record, and that's not because the race distance has been any shorter, it's because the race has been so terrific at the front. There are only 3 laps to go at the end of this one, and they're coming up to round Woodcote and cross the line and start lap 26 now. They being Roberts, Mammala, Middelburg, then a long gap before number 10 Bernard Faux goes through, followed very closely by Mark Fontaine, followed at a respectful distance by Boat van Dulman. No change in the first 6. The first 3 have gone, and soon Bernard Faux should come into the picture, and that shows you how long a gap there is between the battle for the lead and the battle for 4th and 5th, and still Faux and Fontaine had not appeared as the leaders start to streak. And again down the Hanger Straight, and again Mammala comes out of Chapel faster and goes down into Stowe Corner. The 3rd gear 110 right-hander Heath Potter is now out of the race, and that's tragic He was in 7th place and he's out of the race. So Potter joins the previous retirements who could have done well. Newbold, Ballington, Spencer, Crosby and Sheen. And still the race speed continues at a steady 1:33, 1:33.3 a lap. And as I have said before, that is a speed of some 113 miles an hour. Coming up now, underneath the bridge, completing lap 26 into lap 27 in this 28-lap race. And the order is Roberts, and now, for the first time that I can remember, Middelburg actually crosses the line in 2nd place. He's got ahead of Mammela. And am I seeing things, John, or is Mammela dropping back a bit?
Well, at that point he did, but it may have been purely the effect of Middelburg having gone by. This can affect the aerodynamically and such like, but at this moment, the gap is in fact increasing.
And Mammela comes up out of the bubble, the Perspex windscreen in front of him, sits up, increases the wind resistance, and now on lap 27 in this 28-lap race, it does start to look as though Mammela has got Christian Saron closing on him, and Christian Saron, of course, has been lapped. That's the man in blue in the hanger straight. And look at the way Middelburg's machine is wobbling under braking. He's really giving it everything he's got on lap 27.
I certainly don't quite understand why this type of gap has been developed at this stage, unless Mammelo is in some form of problem, or unless he has a lot of reserve.
Well, he
oh no,
he must be.
He's in problem.
Mammela must have a problem, because look, he's right out of the picture now. He's dropped back. The previous winner, the 1980 British Grand Prix winner, Randy Mammela, is going to be taken shortly by Christian Saron, the man who he lapped a lap or so ago. And so if Mammela could catch, and there he goes. So the race for Mammela is not run, because if he can still keep going, he can still finish in 3rd position. He's a long way ahead of Marc Fontaine. But now Middelburg leads for the first time in this race on lap 28, which is the last lap. This doughty Dutchman, 29-year-old Jack Middelburg, is leading the British Grand Prix on the last lap. And it is the 4th leader that we have had. We started off with Crosby leading. Then into the lead went Mammela. Roberts has led. And now Jack Middelburg is not only leading, but it looks as though he has been riding a tactical race, because he's making a breakaway and creating a real gap between himself and Kenny Roberts.
It certainly looks this way, but on the other hand, here we've got Kenny coming up on braking again, but not quite doing it.
This is Stowe Corner. There is only half a lap to go. From 3rd into 4th gear, from 4th into 5th, it's 150 miles an hour as they come up towards Club and slow down and brake and go down through the gearbox and up towards Abbey.
And he's getting out of Club and getting past those 2 lappers is going to be the crucial point. This is going to be it.
Middelburg must win this British Grand Prix if he just keeps going. Unless something happens with these tail-enders in front of him, and he's going past Franco Uncini, number 12, and Middelburg goes into Woodcote Corner, and Roberts is closing right up on him. You can see for yourselves, it's just like 1979, and there's only going to be about 2 machine lengths in it. But a wonderful victory for Jack Middelburg, who has won the 2nd Grand Prix in his career, and he couldn't have won the 2nd Grand Prix in a better place. And Randy Mammela coasts across the line to finish in 3rd place. And there is Middelburg's Dutch sponsor, absolutely and understandably and totally justifiably beside himself with emotion. And Middelburg actually looking quite relaxed inside that helmet of his. As Jack Middelburg, helmet off, he must be feeling absolutely on top of the world, does his victory lap at Silverstone. Kenny Roberts, the reigning world champion, in 2nd place, who said he was going to ride for a win and who just failed to make it. 3rd on the Suzuki, Randy Mammela. 4th position, Bernard Foe, the Frenchman. In 5th position, Marc Fontaine on a Yamaha. 6th, Bert van Delmen on another Yamaha. In 7th position, New Zealander Stu Avant, ahead of the British rider Steve Parish in 8th position. Then Chris Guy getting a fine 9th place ahead of Carlo Perugini, who is the last man to score a World Championship point.